Elias Carter lived a quiet life, and he liked it that way. His apartment was small, clean, and predictable. Every morning he woke up at the same time, made the same cup of coffee, and sat at the same spot near the window while the city slowly came alive. His job was not exciting, but it paid well enough. He worked as a logistics analyst for a human trade office, helping organize supply schedules between Earth and nearby systems. It was paperwork, numbers, and planning. Nothing surprising, nothing loud. That was why Elias agreed to the request without thinking too much about it. The message came late one evening while he was eating dinner alone. It was marked as temporary and low priority. The Human Exchange Office asked if he could host a non-human cultural observer for a short time. The words low impact and minimal disruption were written clearly in the message. Elias read it twice. He looked around his apartment. There was space. He didn't have family. He didn't go out much. It sounded manageable. He replied yes. 2 days later, he began to regret that decision. The knock on his door did not follow any polite rhythm. It was fast, uneven, and loud. Elias stood up from his chair, confused. He checked the time. The message said the guest would arrive in the afternoon. It was still morning. When he opened the door, the first thing he noticed was the height. The second thing he noticed was the smile. The alien woman standing in front of him looked almost human at first glance. She had 2 arms, 2 legs, and a face that followed familiar shapes. But her skin shimmered slightly, like light moving underwater. Her eyes were a little too large, and their color shifted slowly between shades that did not have names in human language. She leaned forward, looking past Elias into the apartment. "This is your living unit," she said cheerfully. "It is smaller than the images suggested." Elias blinked.
"You're early." "Yes," she replied. "Time is flexible." Before he could say anything else, she stepped inside.
Elias turned slowly and closed the door behind her. His brain felt delayed, like it was trying to catch up with reality. "My name is Zyra," she said, spinning in a slow circle while examining the room. "I will be staying here." "You were supposed to arrive later," Elias said. "And you're supposed to wait to be invited inside?" Zyra paused and tilted her head. "Why?" Elias opened his mouth, then stopped. He had no answer ready. "Because that's how it works." She nodded thoughtfully, then walked toward the kitchen. "Interesting." Elias followed her, already feeling tired. "There are rules," he said. "I was told this exchange would be simple." Zyra opened a cabinet and looked inside. "Rules are fascinating."
"I plan to observe them closely." She picked up a cup, examined it, then put it down in a different place.
Elias winced. They sat down at the table, and Elias pulled up the digital document he had prepared. He cleared his throat and tried to sound calm. "There are just a few things," he said. "Quiet hours at night, shared food needs to be labeled. Please knock before entering my room. And no rearranging furniture." Zyra leaned closer to the screen, reading carefully. "These are not laws," she said. "No," Elias replied. "They're house rules." She smiled again. He didn't like that phrase. The first hour went well enough. Zyra asked questions. Many questions. Why humans slept at fixed times. Why Elias drank hot liquid every morning. Why the window faced the street, even though it was louder. Elias answered patiently. He reminded himself this was temporary. Then Zyra removed her shoes and placed them on the kitchen counter. Elias stared at them. "Those go by the door." "Why?" she asked. "Because they're dirty." She looked at the shoes, then at the floor, then at the counter. "All surfaces collect particles."
"Yes," Elias said.
"But some surfaces are for food." Zyra paused. So humans separate spaces based on imagined cleanliness? They're not imagined, Elias said, though he suddenly felt unsure. She moved the shoes back slowly, like she was performing an experiment. I will record this. By evening, Elias felt like he had worked a full week in one day. Zyra explored everything. She opened drawers, tested lights, and adjusted the temperature without asking. She did not seem careless. She seemed curious, focused, and deeply confused by human behavior. When Elias finally sat down on the couch, Zyra sat next to him, much closer than necessary. "You are tense," she said. "I'm fine," he replied quickly. "That is not accurate," he sighed. "You're breaking the rules. Zyra considered this. Your rules appear inefficient. They keep things comfortable," Elias said. "For you," she replied. "Not for me." "That's the point of compromise," Elias said. She looked at him, eyes shifting color. "Explain." He thought for a moment. Humans share space by agreeing to limits. We give up some freedom so everyone feels safe. Zyra leaned back. "My species does not do this." Elias raised an eyebrow. "How do you live together?" "We adapt constantly," she said. "Those who cannot adapt relocate." "That sounds exhausting," Elias said. "Yes," Zyra agreed. "It is." That night, Elias went to sleep with his door locked. He did not remember locking it. He woke up to the sound of humming. It was not unpleasant, but it was loud. Elias sat up and looked at the clock. It was very early. He opened his door and found Zyra standing in the kitchen, preparing something that smelled strange but not bad. "What are you doing?" he asked. "Learning," she said. "Your cooking devices are inefficient, but charming."
It's too early, Elias said. "Early is relative," Zyra replied.
He rubbed his face. "There are quiet hours."
She looked surprised. "You are awake? Because you woke me up," she nodded slowly.
"This rule causes conflict." "Yes," Elias said. "That's why it exists." Zyra turned off the device and sat at the table.
"Tell me more." As the days passed, the pattern continued. Zyra questioned every rule. Elias defended them, sometimes poorly. He grew frustrated, but also curious. Zyra was not rude. She never mocked him. She simply did not understand why humans chose limits when no one forced them to. One afternoon, Elias came home to find the living room completely rearranged. The couch faced the opposite wall. The table was closer to the window. Plants were moved. He stood frozen in the doorway. "This improves movement flow?" Zyra said proudly. Elias closed his eyes. "That was a rule," he said quietly. Zyra watched him carefully. "You are distressed?" "Yes," he said. "Because this is my home." She tilted her head. "Ownership is emotional." "Yes," Elias said. "Barry." She was silent for a long moment. Then she began moving things back, slowly and carefully, asking questions as she did. That was when Elias realized something important. Zyra was not refusing the rules to be difficult. She was testing them, studying them, trying to understand why humans built invisible walls around their lives. And Elias, without meaning to, was teaching her. As the sun set that evening, Elias sat by the window with his coffee. Zyra stood beside him, watching the city lights.
"You live surrounded by constraints," she said, "yet you appear calm." Elias smiled faintly.
"That's the idea." Zyra nodded.
"Humans are strange." "Yes," Elias agreed.
"We are." And somewhere far beyond the apartment, unseen observers were beginning to notice that something unusual was happening inside. A very small human home. The next morning began with silence, which Elias immediately knew was a bad sign. He opened his eyes and listened. No humming, no strange kitchen sounds, no movement at all. For a brief moment, he felt relief. Then worry followed right after. He stepped out of his room and froze. Zyra was sitting on the floor in the middle of the living room, surrounded by papers. Not just any papers. They were his papers. Work reports, personal notes, printed schedules, and even a handwritten list he kept taped to the fridge. Everything was spread out in careful rows. "What are you doing?" Elias asked, trying very hard to stay calm. Zyra looked up, pleased. "I am organizing your life." "My life does not need organizing," Elias said. She pointed at the papers. "You maintain many external memory tools." This suggests internal stress. Elias opened his mouth, closed it, then rubbed his forehead. "Those are private." "Privacy is another rule," Zyra said thoughtfully. "I am still studying it." Elias crouched down and began gathering the papers.
"You can ask before touching my things, but then the observation changes," Zyra replied. "Humans behave differently when watched." Elias paused.
"You're always watching." "Yes," she said happily. That day, Elias contacted the Human Exchange Office. He tried to explain the situation carefully, choosing his words with effort. He did not want Zyra removed. He just wanted help. The response came quickly. "Subject behavior is within acceptable parameters. Please continue cultural interaction." "Data value is high." Elias stared at the message. "Of course it is," he muttered. When he turned around, Zyra was standing behind him. "You sought assistance," she said. "Is this because I caused discomfort?" "Yes," Elias replied honestly. "Sometimes," she nodded. "Good." "Discomfort produces learning." "Not always," Elias said. "Sometimes it just produces headaches." She tilted her head. "What is a headache?" "Never mind." Over the next few days, something strange happened. Zyra did not stop breaking rules. In fact, she broke more of them. But she also started asking better questions. When Elias insisted on eating meals at certain times, Zyra asked how it affected his energy. When he cleaned the apartment on a schedule, she asked how disorder made him feel. When he insisted on silence at night, she asked why humans feared uncontrolled thoughts in the dark. Elias found himself answering honestly instead of defensively. He told her about stress, about work deadlines, about how routines made life feel manageable. He explained that humans lived surrounded by things that could go wrong, and rules helped reduce the noise in their minds. Zyra listened closely. She recorded everything. One evening, Elias came home late and exhausted. He dropped his bag and sat heavily on the couch. Zyra noticed immediately. "You are overwhelmed," she said. "Yes," Elias replied. "Today was bad." "Explain," she said, sitting across from him. He hesitated, then spoke. He explained how a shipment delay caused a chain of problems, how one small mistake created stress across multiple teams, how everyone expected answers immediately. Zyra's eyes shifted slowly. "Your systems are fragile."
"They are," Elias agreed. "That's why we planned so much." She was quiet for a long time.
The next morning, Elias woke up to find something unexpected. The apartment was normal. Not perfectly clean, not perfectly quiet, just normal. His mug was where he left it. The furniture had not moved. Zyra was sitting at the table, waiting.
"I tested an idea," she said.
"What idea?" Elias asked cautiously. "I followed your rules," she said. "All of them. For one cycle." "And?" he asked. She thought carefully. I was uncomfortable. Elias nodded.
That makes sense, but, she continued, I observed reduced stress signals in you.
He looked at her. You did? Yes, she said. Your breathing was steadier. Your speech slowed. You made fewer mistakes while preparing food. Elias smiled slightly. That's the point. Zyra folded her hands. Your rules benefit others more than yourself. That's how shared space works, Elias said. That afternoon, something unexpected happened outside the apartment. The cultural exchange livestream went public. Elias did not know about it until his device began buzzing nonstop. Messages, alerts, and notifications flooded his screen. When he finally opened one, he froze. A video clip showed Zyra rearranging the apartment, while Elias stood shocked in the doorway. Another clip showed him explaining quiet hours. Another showed Zyra asking why humans labeled food. The comments were full of confusion. Why does the human tolerate this? Why not enforce dominance? This seems inefficient. Zyra watched over his shoulder. They are analyzing you. I didn't agree to this, Elias said, alarmed. You agreed to observation, Zyra replied. This is observation. The next day, messages from alien analysts began arriving. Questions poured in. Why did Elias not remove Zyra? Why did he explain instead of command? Why did he adapt instead of relocate? Elias didn't know how to answer. Zyra did. She stood in front of the camera during the next broadcast. The human is not weak, she said clearly. He is tolerant. Observers reacted strongly. Tolerant of inefficiency? Tolerant of stress. Zyra turned to Elias briefly, then back to the camera. Humans live inside constant pressure. Their planet, their biology, their societies. They survive by choosing cooperation over force. Elias stared at her. She continued. Rules are not chains. They are tools.
The broadcast ended, but the reaction did not. Over the following days, more alien viewers tuned in.
Some were curious. Others were critical. They compared humans to their own species and found them strange, soft, and confusing. Elias tried to ignore it. He focused on work, on cleaning, on keeping his routines. Zyra, however, became more thoughtful. She started knocking. Not always correctly. Sometimes too fast. Sometimes too slow. But she tried. She labeled food without being asked. She lowered her voice at night, though she often forgot. One evening, Elias found her staring at the rules list on the wall. I still do not like them, she said. That's okay, Elias replied. You don't have to like them. Yet I follow some, she said. Why? He asked. She looked at him. Because they reduce harm. Elias smiled. The observers noticed. Alien analysts began discussing humans differently. They noted that Elias did not collapse under constant challenge. He adjusted. He explained. He endured.
He absorbs disruption, one analyst said. He does not escalate, said another.
Zyra listened to all of it. One night, she asked Elias a quiet question. If all your rules vanished tomorrow, she said, what would you do? He thought for a long moment. I'd make new ones. Zyra nodded slowly. That is what makes humans dangerous. Elias laughed. We're not dangerous. She looked at him seriously. You are not fragile. Elias didn't know what to say. As he went to bed that night, he realized something important. Zyra was changing. But so was the way the galaxy looked at humanity. And it all started with one small apartment, one tired human, and rules that refused to break, even when everything else tried to. By the time the third week began, Elias's apartment was no longer just an apartment. It had become a symbol. Elias did not choose this. He did not ask for attention. He only wanted quiet mornings and predictable evenings. but now his small living space appeared on screens across many worlds. Analysts paused recordings. Observers slowed down clips. Commentators argued over simple moments, like Elias waiting patiently while Zyra struggled to understand a rule she disliked. Elias tried not to think about it. Zyra, however, thought about it constantly. She spent long periods sitting still, watching recorded footage of their daily life. She watched herself interrupt Elias. She watched him pause, breathe, and explain. She replayed moments where he could have reacted strongly, but chose not to. One afternoon, Elias returned home to find Zyra standing very still near the window. "You are late," she said. "Yes," Elias replied, removing his jacket. "Traffic was bad." "Traffic is another human stress system," Zyra said.
You create obstacles, then complain about them.
Elias smiled tiredly. "That's not wrong." She turned to face him. "They're calling you inefficient again." "Who?" Elias asked, though he already knew. "The observers," she said. "They believe you should have demanded control." Elias sat down. "I don't want control." Zyra's eyes shifted slowly. "That answer confuses them." She sat across from him. "It also confuses me." Elias leaned back.
What part? You endure discomfort when removal is possible, she said. You explain rules instead of enforcing them.
You absorb stress without visible reward. Elias thought for a moment.
"Because life isn't about winning every moment." Zyra paused. "Explain. Humans live long lives," Elias said. "If we fight every inconvenience, we burn out. So we choose what matters." "And what matters?" Zyra asked. "Stability," he said. "Trust, knowing tomorrow won't fall apart." Zyra recorded that silently. Later that day, something unexpected happened. The Human Exchange Office sent a new message. "Due to increased attention, external moderators will observe subject behavior more closely." Elias frowned. "That sounds bad." Zyra read the message. "It sounds like control." "I don't want that either," Elias said. That night, the apartment felt different. Not louder, not quieter. Just heavier. Zyra broke the silence. "My species believes rules are signs of weakness." Elias looked at her. "Why?" "Because rules exist when instinct fails," she said. "We act first. We adapt later." "And how does that work?" Elias asked. She hesitated. "It works. Until it doesn't."
Elias waited. Our communities fracture often, Zyra admitted. Relocation is common.
"Bonds are temporary."
That sounds lonely, Elias said.
Zyra did not answer. The next broadcast session changed everything. An alien analyst asked Zyra a direct question. "If humans are so adaptable, why do they need rules at all?" Zyra looked at Elias before responding. "Because humans are not trying to survive alone," she said. "They are trying to survive together." The reaction was immediate. Clips of Elias helping Zyra understand quiet hours spread quickly. So did clips of him calmly restoring the apartment after disruption. Analysts began noticing patterns. Human patience is deliberate. They delay reaction. They trade short-term dominance for long-term stability. Elias felt uncomfortable watching it. "They're overthinking this. They are underestimating you," Zyra said. One evening, the building experienced a temporary system failure. Lights flickered. Climate control shut down. Nothing dangerous, just inconvenient. Zyra reacted instantly, opening windows and adjusting devices. Elias did not. He sat down and waited. Zyra noticed. "You are not responding." "I am," Elias said. "Just not immediately." "Why?" "Because panic makes mistakes," he said.
I wait, then act. The lights returned minutes later. Zyra stared at him.
You trusted the system. I trusted myself.
Elias replied, and the people maintaining it. That night, Zyra tried something new. She created her own rule. She wrote it down and placed it next to Elias's list. Rule: ask before changing shared systems. Elias read it twice. You made a rule? Yes, she said. I wanted to test your behavior. And? He asked.
You followed it, she said.
Without resistance. That's because it makes sense, Elias said. Zyra looked thoughtful. Rules can be shared. Yes, Elias said. That's the point. Observers noticed this moment too. This is mutual regulation, one analyst said. They are building trust structures, said another. The tone began to change. Humans were no longer called weak. They were called strange, resilient, and difficult to predict. Zyra continued testing human behavior, but gently now. She asked instead of acting. She listened instead of interrupting. When Elias looked tired, she lowered her voice without being reminded. One evening, she asked a question that surprised him. Do your rules ever fail you? She asked. Yes, Elias replied.
All the time. Then why keep them? Because even broken rules give us something to fix, he said. Without them, we wouldn't know where to start. Zyra nodded slowly.
Elsewhere, alien councils debated quietly. If humans can maintain order without enforcement, if they self-correct, they may be dangerous partners. Back in the apartment, Elias prepared dinner while Zyra watched. You have taught me something, she said. What? Elias asked. Your strength is not resistance, she said. It is persistence. Elias smiled. That sounds like us? Zyra hesitated. My final evaluation approaches.
Elias paused.
And I do not yet know how to describe humans, she said. Elias considered that. Maybe don't try too hard? She looked at him. That is also a human answer. That night, Elias realized he was no longer counting days until Zyra left, and Zyra realized that humans did not survive by refusing change. They survived by shaping it, slowly, patiently, together. The problem did not arrive loudly. There were no alarms, no flashing warnings, and no urgent messages. It arrived quietly, like dust settling where no one was looking. Then, Elias noticed it first, because humans were good at noticing small changes that did not belong. His work system took longer to load. One morning, not much longer, just enough for him to frown. Later that day, a delivery schedule showed a small delay that should not have existed. When he asked a coworker, they blamed a routine update. Elias accepted the answer, but he remembered it. Zyra noticed his silence that evening. You are observing, she said. Yes, Elias replied. Something feels off. Define off, she said. I can't yet, he answered. That's the problem. Across the city, similar things were happening. Small errors, minor delays, systems correcting themselves slowly, but not smoothly. To most species, it meant nothing. Their systems were built to override and replace. To humans, it meant watching more closely. The cultural exchange network also slowed. Streams froze briefly. Data packets arrived out of order. Analysts blamed network load from increased interest. Zyra did not accept that answer. This is not random, she said. What do you think it is? Elias asked. She hesitated. I think the systems are confused. That happens, Elias said. Complex things get messy.
No, Zyra replied. They are losing reference points. Elias looked at her.
Like when rules disappear. Zyra nodded slowly. The Human Exchange Office sent another message that night.
Temporary suspension of standard protocols. Automated moderation will handle inconsistencies. Elias felt a knot form in his chest. That's not good, he said. Zyra read it carefully. They removed human oversight. Yes, Elias replied.
Because it's inefficient.
Zyra looked at him.
Your species trusts oversight more than automation. We trust people to notice when things feel wrong,
Elias said. Machines don't feel. The next day, the suspension spread. Exchange housing systems across multiple worlds removed localized rules to optimize fairness. Quiet hours vanished. Shared resource labels disappeared. Personal boundaries were flagged as unnecessary. Alien participants reacted badly. Some froze, unable to function without enforced structure. Others overcorrected, taking more than needed, moving constantly, unable to settle. Observers watched confusion spread through previously stable systems. Elias watched too. This is what happens, he said quietly, when you think rules are the problem instead of the solution. Zyra was silent for a long time. Then she stood up and did something no one expected. She knocked on Elias's door. He looked up, surprised. It's open. I know, she said. This is symbolic. She stepped inside and placed a handwritten sheet on the table. What's that? Elias asked.
Our rules, Zyra said. He read it slowly.
Quiet hours. Ask before changes. Shared space. Shared care. Explain before acting. You rewrote them, Elias said. Yes, Zyra replied. Without enforcement. Elias smiled. That's very human of you. I learned from observation, she said. They followed those rules while the wider exchange struggled. Inside the apartment, things worked. Elias woke up rested. Zyra adapted her energy cycles. They communicated more, not less. Small problems were solved quickly because both knew where the boundaries were. Outside, analysts began noticing the difference. Why is the human unit stable? They are not using automated correction. They rebuilt structure manually. The phrase spread quickly. Humans rebuild. An alien council requested a focused observation.
Zyra was asked to explain why Elias's apartment remained stable when others failed.
She did not hesitate.
Because humans do not wait for permission to create order, she said. They do not need systems to tell them how to behave.
They decide together, one analyst objected.
But rules restrict freedom, Zyra responded calmly. Freedom without structure is noise.
The stream went silent. Meanwhile, Elias received messages from coworkers. Are you seeing this? Everything feels broken. Elias replied carefully. Start small. Make your own rules. Write them down. Share them. Some listened. Things improved. Not perfectly, not instantly, but enough. The Human Exchange Office tried to reassert control, but it was too late. The data was clear. Units with human-led structure recovered faster. Units that waited for enforcement remained unstable. Zyra watched all of this closely.
You are right, she said to Elias one evening. About what? He asked.
Rules are emotional tools, she said. They calm chaos.
We learned that the hard way. The exchange protocols were restored days later, but they were changed. Human-designed rule frameworks were included. Not mandatory. Suggested. For the first time, the galaxy did not laugh at suggestion-based systems. They studied them. That night, Elias stood by the window, looking out at the city. Zyra stood beside him. I will be leaving soon, she said. I know, Elias replied.
Your evaluation, yes, she said. It is complete.
I requested an extension. Elias turned, surprised. Why? Because I am not finished learning, she said. And because this unit functions. Elias smiled softly. Outside the apartment, the galaxy shifted its understanding. Humans were not loud, not dominant, not fast. But when structure failed, they did not collapse.
They rebuild.
Together, and that scared a lot of very advanced species. The last morning began like many others. Elias woke up before his alarm, stretched, and listened to the quiet. The apartment felt familiar in a way he had not expected when Zyra first arrived. It no longer felt like a place he defended. It felt shared. He walked into the kitchen and found Zyra already there, carefully preparing breakfast. She had followed the rules without being reminded. The food was labeled. The sound level was low. The window was half open, just how Elias liked it. "You are awake early," she said.
"So are you," Elias replied. "Yes," she said.
I wanted to experience one full human morning cycle. They ate together in comfortable silence. Later that day, Zyra stood in front of the recording interface. This time, Elias knew about it. This time, he was invited to watch. The galaxy was listening. Zyra stood straight, calm, and focused. She did not smile. She did not exaggerate. She simply spoke. "My evaluation is complete," she said. "The human subject, Elias Carter, is not exceptional by individual standards. He possesses no unusual strength, intelligence, or authority." Some observers shifted in their seats. However, Zyra continued, "He represents his species accurately." Elias felt his hands tense.
Humans survive in unstable environments, Zyra said. Their planet, biology, and societies constantly generate pressure.
Instead of eliminating chaos, they organize around it. Images appeared on screens.
Elias explaining rules, writing lists.
Waiting before reacting, adjusting calmly.
Human rules are not enforced through fear, Zyra said. They are maintained through shared understanding. An analyst interrupted. But humans argue. They break their own rules.
"Yes," Zyra replied, "and then they repair them." Silence followed.
Zyra continued. When external systems failed, humans did not wait for restoration. They rebuilt structure locally. They communicated. They adapted rules to context. They stabilized faster than species with superior automation.
Data confirmed it. Humans are not passive, Zyra said.
They are patient, Elias exhaled slowly. They do not dominate environments, Zyra said.
"They negotiate with them," one observer asked the final question. "Are humans dangerous?" Zyra paused.
She looked away from the screen and at Elias. "Yes," she said, "but not in the way you expect." She turned back.
They are dangerous because they endure.
Because they cooperate without command. Because they create order without permission. They will not collapse when systems fail. They will not panic when rules vanish. The stream ended. The galaxy did not respond immediately. For once, there was no noise. That evening, Elias and Zyra sat on the couch, the city glowing softly outside. "Well," Elias said, "you made us sound impressive." "I was accurate," Zyra replied. "You're leaving tomorrow," Elias said.
"Yes," she said. "Relocation has been approved."
Elias nodded. "I'll miss you." Zyra looked at him. That emotion is mutual. The next morning, Elias stood near the door as Zyra prepared to leave. She paused, hand hovering in the air. She knocked. Elias laughed quietly. "You don't have to. I know," she said. "I want to." She stepped closer. "You taught me something important."
What's that? Elias asked.
That rules are not limits, she said. They are agreements. Elias smiled.
That's a good way to put it. Zyra hesitated, then added, "Humans will change the galaxy." "I don't think we're trying to," Elias said. "That is why you will," she replied. She left. The apartment felt quiet again. But not empty. Days passed. Then, weeks. Human-designed cooperative frameworks spread slowly, not everywhere, not all at once. But where systems failed, humans were asked to help, not because they were strongest, because they stayed. Elias returned to his routines: coffee, work, quiet evenings. But something had changed. The galaxy now knew humans were not loud heroes. They were builders, and they never stopped.